I heard there was this podcast, yo, about something funny like wrestling and so. And you really care about wrestling, don't you? There are drop kicks and leases all over the board, and then something called the Wrestling Hold. It's a super duper fun podcast about wrestling. That wrestling show. That wrestling show. That wrestling show. That wrestling show. Well, Fro and Bill and maybe a guest or two is here to hold your hand and guide you through a podcast about wrestling. We have a lot of extreme fun, and that's without the gun, because I needed something to rhyme fun with. That wrestling show, that wrestling show, that wrestling show, that wrestling show. Well, sit your behinds gently down and listen to our podcast sound, and try to guess this week's pro question. You win a lot of cool things, and also help Bill with his bills. That's a super duper fun competition. That wrestling show. 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 That wrestling show.
Greetings, fellow minions. It is Halloween time, which means it is the Halloween episode of that wrestling show, and boy, do we have some scares for you this week.
Yeah, all from Jeff Jarrett news to fantastic TNA news, other TNA news.
And pay-per-view stuff, too.
Oh, yeah, that's really, really, really good. No.
Yeah. So, we got a lot to talk about this week. We got TLC to talk about. We have wrestling news to talk about. Jeff Jarrett is one of the things that we will be talking about this week. We'll do another Nikki Bella update on Dancing with the Stars and what other wrestling news there is that we will discuss here this week. So
it's almost like we have Paul in there.
Damn it. Now I gotta play it.
The time of our lives. What's next?
It's the moment I've been waiting for.
What's that?
Kiss.
Oh, now, Paul, wait a minute. I mean, I don't go that way.
Ding dong, the witch has flipped.
Mr. Lynn,
At least we're getting this out of the way.
What is number one with the bullet? Is that like when they say a blast from the past or a golden oldie?
No, you're a blast from the past. And you're a golden oldie. And they're number one with the bullet. At least their new record is.
It's called Beth.
You two will love it. Because Beth is a monster of a hit. If I hear you calling,
Get those lighters out, folks.
can't come home right now. Me and the boys are playing, and we just can't find the sound. Just a few more hours, and I'll be right home to you. I think I hear them calling. Oh, Beth, what can I do? Beth, what can I do? You say you feel so empty, that our house just ain't a home. I'm always somewhere else, and you're always there alone. Just a few more hours, and I'll be right home to you. I think I hear them calling. Oh, Beth, what can I do? Beth, I know you're lonely, and I hope you'll be alright. 'Cause me and the boys will be playing all night.
Oh, boy. Yep, that actually happened, Fro.
Okay.
That actually was a real thing. It's up there with the Star Wars Christmas as one of the worst holiday specials ever.
I've never seen this.
You should be thankful. Oh, boy. All right, let's get into the trivia because we did have a winner.
Ooh,
From-
winner chicken dinner.
Yes, from this past week. And the question last week was, name the arena that TLC 2015 was held in. It was for 2 entries. Joe Sago was the winner because he put in TD Garden. So
Yeah.
he gets 2 entries into our Survivor Series drawing, which is just 3 weeks away. So there's still a little bit of time left, folks. Not too much. There's still a little bit of time left.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, Fro, I know that you're a little under the weather.
I am, but I have something prepared already.
All right, bring it on.
Because I was thinking, what is more Halloween than... What do you think it is?
Halloween Havoc?
No. St. Valentine's in your house.
That is very
Oh.
Halloween.
Yes. From 1999.
That is very Halloween.
Yes. And the question for the listeners this world, on the promotion poster, who is on the promotion poster?
I do know that one. I'm not going to say it, but I do know that one.
Yes. So, are you ready for some results?
I am ready.
Okay. We have a dark match. 2 match. That is Brian Christopher and Scott Taylor. Remember them?
Yes, I do.
Taylor.
I do.
Okay. Against the Hardy Boys.
Oh, wow. I am going to say Too Much won that one.
Yes.
Ah.
Then you have Test against Vicara.
Oh, Viscera.
Viscera, sorry.
Okay, so that would have been Ministry versus the Corporation in that one. I'm going to say Viscera?
Yep.
Whoa!
Then we have Bill Gunn versus Tiger Ali Singh. But you can't say anything because it ended up in no contest.
No, well, there we go.
And was a 40-second match.
There we go.
But who won against Blue Dust and Gold Dust?
Ah, now we're getting into the pay-per-view. Okay. I have good memory of this, because I rented this, I think, once or twice, and then I have the videotape. Gold Dust beat Blue Dust.
Yes, he did.
And he kicked Blue Dust in the blue balls after the match. Ba-dum-bum.
Then we have a hardcore match for the vacant WWF Hardcore Championship with Al Snow against Bob Holly.
Ah.
Hi, Bill.
This is a famous one. Hi, Mom. This is a famous one because they end up fighting in the Mississippi River. Bob Holly won that match.
Yes.
And then he would become Hardcore Holly, and the rest is history.
Yes. As we say. Then we have Midian against Big Boss Man.
All right. See, now I'll explain why I went with Viscera earlier. Because I had a thinking that, they had to trade wins on this. So, since Viscera beat Test, Big Boss Man defeated Midian.
That is right.
Yes.
Then we have Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett.
It's going to be Jeff Jarrett themed this week.
Yes. Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart against D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry.
And this is for the tag titles.
Yes.
Yeah, Jarrett and Owen won that match.
They did. Then you have Val Venus against Ken Shamrock with Bill Gunn as special guest referee.
Alright, and this was for the Intercontinental title.
It was.
And we had a new Intercontinental champion. Val Venus won that match.
Yes. Then we have a tag team match. It's the Corporation, China and Kane against the Generation X. Triple H and X-Pac.
If I remember correctly, China and Kane won that match.
They did. As funny as that sounds.
Yeah, it does.
Then we have the longest match. It's the last man standing match for the WWF Championship. But do you know how it ended?
I do know how it ended, and this is actually a decent match. I don't know why it doesn't get as much love as it should, but it's a decent match.
And we said it's Mankind and
The Rock. They went to a draw.
They did. In the last man standing match. That's pretty sounds awesome. Then we have Stone Cold Steve Austin against Mr. McMahon. And it's a steel cage match to determine the number one contender to the WWF Championship at WrestleMania 15.
Oh, yes, this one. Stone Cold won that match.
You did.
All right. And
that's all the matches.
Would you like to repeat the question for this week?
Yes. On the promotion poster, who is it showcasing?
All right.
Weird, and I will help you so much. He has some roses in his head.
Yeah, it's pretty easy if you remember the poster.
Yeah.
Now, Fro does not know what I'm about to do here. It's Halloween.
No.
It is Halloween. And you know what the kids say when you come knocking on the door asking for candy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm going to give you a trick, and the listeners are about to get a treat. Because, Fro, you have to answer questions for a pay-per-view this week.
Oh, yay.
And this is probably a once-a-year thing, so don't worry, Fro. This isn't going to happen a lot. This might be once a year. Now, I had to think about this one. And I am going with Bound for Glory 2005. So, okay, we're going to start with the pre-show match. It was a four corners match. Austin Aries, Sanjay Dutt, Roderick Strong, and Alex Shelley.
Right. The Roderick Strong team.
No, surprisingly, Sanjay Dutt won that match.
Okay.
So now we go to the main show. And the first match is Samoa Joe versus Jushin Thunder Liger.
Oh. Wasn't that Jushin that won that?
No, Samoa Joe won that match.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Alright. Next match is a 6-man tag team match.
Mm-hmm.
On one side, Sonny Siaki, Apollo, and Shark Boy against Simon Diamond, Elix Skipper, and David Young.
Is it sad that we don't know, most people don't know who these people are, and I do?
Yeah.
Was that the second team, wasn't it?
It was the second team.
Yeah.
Diamond, Skipper, and Young. Actually, Shark Boy was the first wrestler I ever interviewed, so Shark Boy will always have a special place in my heart. Next match, Lance Hoyt against Monty Brown.
Say that one more time.
Lance Hoyt versus Monty Brown.
The first one.
Lance Hoyt?
Yeah.
No, Monty Brown won that match.
I don't remember any of them.
Ah, you don't remember the Alpha Male? That's a good character. All right. Hey, you know what's better than one 6-man tag team match at a pay-per-view?
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. 2 6-man tag team matches at a pay-per-view. All right, this one. Conan, BG James, and Ron Killings against Eric Young, Bobby Roode, and A1.
Oh, Jesus, I hope the second team won.
They did.
Yes.
They did.
Seems like a star team.
Alright, now we get into this match. This is an Ultimate X match.
Okay.
Matt Bentley, Petey Williams, and Chris Sabin.
Did Chris Sabin have the title at that point?
He did not have the title at this point.
Who did it? Have it?
AJ Styles did.
Oh. Chris Sabin, then.
That's your pick?
Yeah.
Actually, it was Petey Williams.
Ah. I like him.
Mm-hmm. Alright.
Yep. Då ska nu... Yep. Yep, perfekt.
Alright.
Kort då. Ha det bra. Godnatt.
I think our friend is getting some help here this week.
Medication.
That's fine. Next up, as you're taking your medicine, Next up, the NWA Tag Team titles. Chris Harris and James Storm defending against Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens.
The champion.
Yep, the champ stayed the champs. Very good.
Yeah.
All right, next match. The first ever Monsters Ball match. This is the first one ever.
Oh, yes. I remember this.
All right, here's who was in this. Here's who was in this match. Sabu, Abyss, Rhino, and Jeff Hardy. Who won that match?
Jeff Hardy.
No, Rhino won that match.
Oh, thank God. That was when Jeff Hardy was on drugs.
Yeah. All right, next up, and this was the longest match of the pay-per-view, Christopher Daniels challenging AJ Styles for the X Division title in a 30-minute Iron Man match. Who won the match?
I hope AJ Styles won.
It was AJ Styles. Very good.
Yeah.
All right, then we have a very interesting situation here. Because, and this is not the question for this week, so you guys are going to get two questions. Originally, the main event was Jeff Jarrett versus Kevin Nash. That was supposed to be the main event. Kevin Nash! Nash had some kind of injury that prevented him from being in this. So they had a gauntlet match to determine who would face Jeff Jarrett in the main event. Here are the participants.
Okay.
Abyss, Monty Brown, Jeff Hardy, Lance Hoyt, Kip James, Ron Killings, Rhino, Sabu, Samoa Joe, and AJ Styles. Who won that match?
Against Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe?
That's a good guess, but it was Rhino.
Oh.
Which leads to the main event of Bound for Glory.
Oh, God. Sounds like a horrible, horrible main event.
Rhino challenging Jeff Jarrett for the NWA World Heavyweight title. Who won that match?
Rhino.
Yes, it was Rhino. Rhino became the NWA World Heavyweight Champion on that night. So, now for your second question. Mine's going to be a little bit harder this week than Fro's. In the AJ Styles Christopher Daniels match, we already said AJ Styles won that match. How many falls were won in the entire match? That is the question for the fans. So you will use hashtag, let's do hashtag Bill this week. So we'll do one for Fro and we'll do one for me. If you get the answer right and use hashtag Bill, you'll be automatically entered into our Survivor Series drawing. So,
wow.
All right. You know what?
I'm going to guess.
All right.
You want me to guess?
Can you send me? Yeah, send me a message.
Okay.
Send me a message and tell me.
Okay.
As you do that.
Yes, as I do that. What?
Oh, did you send me your guess?
No.
Oh. Okay. No.
Oh.
Not that many.
Okay.
Do you want me to type the answer to you?
Nah. I want to.
You want to be surprised? Okay. That's fine. All right. Now, you know what? Since we've been talking about Jeff Jarrett for so much, let's get into Jeff Jarrett news. And this is very bizarre news. So
it is really bizarre.
It is. So we have to set the stage up for what eventually happens. Last weekend, Jeff Jarrett was scheduled to to do 2 shows for a wrestling promotion in Canada. On the first night of the 2 shows, he was in the main event, and I apologize for not remembering who he was wrestling, so I do apologize. Jeff seemed a little bit awkward, to put it nicely.
Okay.
Fro and I have seen this video.
Have we?
Yeah, we did, because I sent you the link with the video.
Oh, that link. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Jeff,
he looks a little drunk.
Yeah, he looked drunk because his speech was a little slurred at times, and he just didn't sound like himself. And
no.
There were some times in the video where he was pushing the referee aggressively, and the referee had to push him back. And you could tell, like, when it's part of the match and when it's not.
Yes.
And that did not look like it was part of the match.
No.
So, if you watch the video, and it's about a 4 or 5 minute video.
Yes.
Jarrett's not really there.
Oh no. He's not AJ. No, sorry. He's not stoned like how the Hardys was. One of the Hardys was against
Sting. Oh my God.
One of the worst pay-per-views in history.
That might be the worst main event in the history of pay-per-views.
Yeah.
But that'll be a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
So the match ends, and there are about 3 to 4 guys who are at the ring after the match to help Jeff get to the back.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff did not make the Saturday show. He did not make the Saturday show. Monday afternoon, we get the news that, and this was before the video was shown.
Yes. This was long before.
Oh yeah, but this was pretty much a foregone conclusion, the tweet that I'm about to read. Impact Wrestling announced today that it has terminated its business relationship with Jeff Jarrett and Global Force Entertainment Incorporated, effective immediately.
Yep.
So that was on Monday. Now, this was also on Monday, written by Mike Johnson, a PW Insider. For those wondering how the announced termination will impact the GFW Amped pay-per-view series, for those of you who care, the final installment of that series will air as scheduled. Executives have declined to comment on the Jarrett situation and stated they will not comment going further. They also declined comment on the status of Karen Jarrett within the company. I would think that Karen is just not going to stay.
No.
That's just what I would think. Then, a couple days ago, Jeff Jarrett made a comment in the Tennessean newspaper, and he made the following quote. He said, "I've spent 31 years in the wrestling business. I'm not getting out of the wrestling business." So that was on Wednesday.
That was the only thing he said?
Well, that was his quote.
Okay.
Then, late Wednesday night, and this is actually good news to report, Jeff Jarrett has entered himself into an inpatient rehabilitation facility.
Hallelujah.
And you know, I'll say this, because this is actually something I don't talk about that much. But my family, my mom's side of the family, we've had a long history of alcohol issues.
Right.
My mom swore not to, that she wouldn't go down that way, and she didn't. And pretty much me and my brother and sisters, we never went that route either. So I can understand, how giving up alcohol is such a big issue and a big deal. Because, Jeff Jarrett, and I know, it's cool for the internet fans to hate on Jeff Jarrett, but the guy's a human being too,
Yeah.
And I just want him to get better. I do.
Of course we do.
So, hopefully, Jeff will take his time while he's there, get his life back together, and not rush anything. Hopefully, he can manage to pull a comeback.
Yeah. So, are they just going to stop calling it Global Force Wrestling now?
They have stopped calling it Global Force Wrestling.
Okay.
And they are going back to Impact Wrestling. So.
That's good then.
It is. I want to read this story as well, sticking with addictions and rehab. You remember Caitlin?
Yeah.
She posted something on Instagram the other day that was very interesting, and I want to read this. And this was something that I did not know about, and I'm sure not a lot of people knew about, but this is something good for all of us to hear. So I will read what she wrote. It's been 1 year since I checked myself into the hospital for a medical drug detox. I took this picture in the airport bathroom, and unfortunately you guys can't see the picture, but it is in the bathroom. After flying into LAX, I felt so awful and disgusted with myself, but I remember posting it on Instagram with some stupid caption about being happy. I was actually on the last days of the medicine to help me detox and was in a super fucked up place mentally and physically. Over the past few years, I was in a terrible marriage, an addict, and not true to myself. It took me so long to admit I had a problem, and then to admit how serious the problem was. I used to pretend to be and to live a certain way for social media. It's everyone's highlight reel. I remember getting out of the hospital feeling like death with a medical taper plan of meds and thinking, what have I done to myself? I celebrated my 30th birthday 5 days later, and I remember wanting to die. If you've ever gone through serious drug detox, you know that you basically go through two detoxes. One from the initial drug or drugs, and then another one from the medicine used to help you detox. A lot of people get hooked on the medicine and remain addicts. For me, I started abusing alcohol to deal with the chemical imbalances, panic attacks, and sadness, depression I was experiencing. If you know me, you know I had never done a drug in my life leading up to this, besides smoking weed once or twice and freaking the fuck out. It's so crazy. You can have the world at your fingertips, but end up destroying yourself if you're not careful. I'm fortunate enough to have pulled myself out of it all and was able to rebuild my life. But I can seriously empathize with anyone who has been, or has a tendency to be an addict. We're all addicted to something. But it's about self-awareness and humility. Never be too proud to ask for help. Be able to wake up and look at yourself in the mirror. Tag someone who needs to read this. #addiction. That takes a lot of guts for what she did.
Yeah, that is really, I really applaud her.
Yeah. That takes a lot of guts for what she did.
Yeah.
So, Caitlin, we're behind you. We're behind you.
And congratulations on 1 year.
Yep. And you know what? We should also congratulate one of our friends of the show, Eddie Arias, who recently celebrated 1 year of smoke-free, not doing smoking. So, Eddie, congratulations to you.
Yeah, congrats.
And, this is sort of a wrong...
I know all about that. I smoked since I was 16 and quit like 3 years, 4 years ago.
I've never smoked. I never smoked.
Yeah. No, I smoked socially. So when I stopped having friends, I stopped smoking.
Yeah. There's other... Okay, well, let's talk about celebrations as well. And everybody mark this date down. January 22nd, 2018 will be the 25th anniversary of Monday Night Raw. That is going to be the official celebration day for Monday Night Raw.
I'm sure they're going to do a big hoopla about it.
I would imagine. The event will be held at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah.
So there's that. And there will also be released in 2018 a 25th anniversary Raw DVD set.
Oh, I want that already.
So we'll have to see what happens with that. All right, we got other news to report. WrestleMania 34 ticket prices have been released. And, of course, they're going to go on sale in a few weeks. Would you like to know, Fro, where the cheapest seats are for WrestleMania next year?
Yes, at your home in front of your sofa.
Well, okay, maybe not that cheap.
Your TV.
Maybe not that cheap.
I think that's the cheapest seats you can get for WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's true.
Buying the network and watching it there.
Pretty much. Well, I meant for those that are going to be in attendance.
Oh, I didn't understand the question. I'm stupid.
Yeah, it's okay. If you're going to be in attendance at the Superdome in New Orleans, the cheapest seats are $35 in the 600 level in the corner sections. There are also $50 seats in the 600 level, $75 for remainder of the 500 level sections. And the most expensive seats, for those who want them, are the golden ringside seats. It'll cost you a pretty penny, though. $2,000 is how much golden ringside seats will go for. So, if you're considering getting one of the expensive seats, folks, save your money real quickly, as best as you can. All right. You know what time it is, Fro?
What time is it?
It is time to check on Nikki Bella.
Yes.
Because we're gonna find out how she did on Dancing with the Stars this week. So, Fro, go ahead and ask the question.
Is Nikki Bella still in Dancing with the Stars?
She is still on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh.
To give everybody a quick update, the theme this week was A Night at the Movies. And the song that Nikki did is called, and I know I'm going to mess this up, Dernier Danse, from the movie, or by the artist Indila?
Sure.
Yeah, that's a real thing. That is from... What is that from? I've never heard of this! Well, apparently, it's a foreign film. Let's do that. It's a foreign film. So, other movie or songs that were done, Nick Lachey did Wild Wild West, from the movie Wild Wild West. There is also We Will Rock You, Who did that one? Victoria did. Let's see. Ed Sheeran, Sheila E. It doesn't say what movies though. That's the thing I don't like. Let me see. Maybe I can tell you. Yeah. Okay. All right. I can't find it, folks. I apologize. But Nick Lachey ended up being the one eliminated from the competition. And they had a fourth judge this week, a guest judge, and it happened to be country music singer Shania Twain.
Okay.
So, Nikki, out of a possible 40 points, got a 36. So she did pretty good. Nick Lachey, like I said, was eliminated. He had the lowest score with 26.
Okay.
So next week, it is a Halloween night themed episode, as you'd imagine. And they will do one unlearned dance and team dances. So they're going to do 2 dances this coming week. So,
not bad.
No, not at all. Not bad at all. Alright. Now, I don't usually go into, praising articles a lot, but I have to mention a very good article that was written by Mike Johnson of PW Insider. And this was a very interesting article. The title of the article is Looking Across the Pro Wrestling Realm, There Are Reasons to Worry. So, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to read this article, and at any point during this article, if you have an opinion, I want you to tell me to stop, and we can discuss whatever part you want me to go into. So, you ready?
Yep.
All right. Here's the article by Mike Johnson. I love professional wrestling, but I worry for it. It's a scary time, and no one seems to be admitting that. While there seems to be an endless list of great in-ring matches that have taken place over the last year, on an almost weekly basis, has that led to any major book for professional wrestling? I don't think it has, and when you take a step back and look at a cross-section of how pro wrestling is doing, it's a scene that worries me. Consider the following. WWE has continued to truck along, but on the eve of the latest financial filings tomorrow, the company has gotten extremely conservative with expenditures, whether they be pyro, WWE Network programming, production staffing, or slowing down the process of acquiring new tape libraries. It's not unusual for fan discussion on social media to cross into how well or how badly live events or TV tapings are drawing, but the proliferation of photos showing poor crowds has shifted from being something that was done to mock Impact Wrestling into something that is done to regularly point out how many WWE shows aren't drawing or how tarped off certain sections are. There's a big reason for that. The top names aren't working those tours, nor will they be anytime soon. It used to be the top talents were the ones who carried the titles. But now being a top name means you get to work with the true champions, the ones who hold the part-timer championship, which allows them to tag out of the company and return only for big dates and big paydays. That is an aspect of the company that needs to be fixed, because in 2017, It's the first generation where being from the generation before holds more prestige than being the WWE champion week in and week out. The trickle-down effect of that has hurt the touring aspect of the company, especially when so much focus remains on the TV rights, which should be important as they are the top money marker for the company. But there are obvious weaknesses that can't be fixed by just having great in-ring wrestling. Look at how much WWE rushed to give away the Kurt Angle return and AJ Styles versus Finn Balor when two top names went down to illness. That is a sign of a larger issue that needs to be addressed. WWE will always be the linchpin for professional wrestling and will always exist. But it's obvious they are thin on top regular talent when it comes to the weekly touring product. WWE are being extremely careful and nuanced with spending. The question is, why? Are they trying to cut the fat to look better for stockholders? Are they preparing for life after USA Network in case of the worst? Have they realized the network isn't making them the money they wanted, having come nowhere close to 2 million subs yet, and even worse, are the numbers going to drop tomorrow? Is WWE looking long-term towards a sale, seeking the bounty that came from the Fertittas and Dana White when they sold UFC? Perhaps tomorrow's earnings report will provide clarity to ease some worry. Or perhaps it will bring additional reasons to worry. Impact Wrestling, under Anthem Media, is preparing to tape a pay-per-view and TV in Canada next month as we close in on a year of Anthem having funded this company. Heading into the pay-per-view, there are already talks among those in the company about cutbacks that are underway in terms of production and even who will be brought in for the shows when they can get away with using local Canadian talent in secondary roles like referees and ring announcers and extras. While some of this can be pointed to as proof that Anthem, unlike previous owners, are paying close attention to every dollar spent to prevent themselves from landing in the hole that Dixie Carter put the company in post-Spike TV, the continued exodus of talent, endless reboots, and the termination of Jeff Jarrett, whose vision Anthem had dove into the deep end of the pool with feet first, looks like a choose-your-own-adventure book that leads to doom and peril and regret with every choice. There is no doubt that Anthem has tons of money. There is, however, no indication they intend to keep throwing money into a fire pit if there's no way to make that money back. Even their TV regularly features content that is shot and filmed at other promotions' events, and the one-night-only pay-per-views, which have never had one lick of momentum, are following suit. I respect the thrifty way the company is being run at this point, but how can one not worry about the long-term outlook of the company at this rate? Live events started and stopped with one weekend. The pay-per-view taping this weekend was less attended than some independent events in the same state. The GFW app is off to a slow start, and nearly a year in, Impact has to build even more lost ground, but without the likes of some of the names that has been used to cement the company before Anthem purchased it. Again, how does one not worry, especially when Canadian independent promotions are openly tweeting out discount codes for the Canadian pay-per-view? WWN Evolve is also a promotion that one has to be worried about. With the promotion losing its Flow Sports deal, is it any wonder why they are taking off the entire month of November? Not only are they being sued for 7 figures, but according to WWN Live sources, they, by my count, produced 13 live streaming shows for Flow Sports and then another 5 they were expecting to produce those events. I read that wrong. Produced 13 live streaming shows for Flow Sports and then another 5 events since being pulled off the service. That means for the last 18 events, they spent money but were not paid what they were expecting to produce those events. Imagine working your job and spending money for what you needed to work your job for 3 months and then finding out that not only are you not getting 3 months of a great salary, but your job is looking to sue you for what they paid you in the past. That is the reality that WWN is now living in. They basically handed over their momentum to Flow Sports for that paycheck, and all they have to show for it are expenditures for the last 90 days and legal bills to come. WWN Live has never drawn major crowds unless it was riding the timing of scheduling shows during a big WrestleMania weekend. What happens between now and April is anyone's guess. They canceled their never-announced but scheduled last FIP event. November was canceled, even though the original plans were to run Survivor Series weekend in Houston, although part of that was due to damage to the scheduled venue. WWE is lending William Regal to Evolve's Queen's return, but for a promotion that regularly plays to smaller audiences and now has locked themselves into signing talents to deals as part of a Flow Sports contract that no longer exists, they are now going to have to fight and promote harder than ever just to maintain the position they were already at, which funding a legal battle and without making anywhere near the money they were a year ago. That's a scary, frustrating place to be with no clear answers as to how to handle it. No wonder Gabe Sapolsky is trying to get an NXT gig. If anything, Ring of Honor looks to be in the best, safest position and may be the promotion that others may need to study and follow when it comes to maintaining longevity. Run by a conservative company and Sinclair Broadcast Group, the very thing that some would privately criticize, the lack of funneling a bunch of money in to support the brand, may be the one thing that has kept ROH safe. In recent months, their relationship with New Japan has allowed Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks as Bullet Club to empower the company towards strong live gates and really good to great professional wrestling. As the Sinclair Tribune merger closes, ROH being added to all of those Tribune markets Sinclair will now have a foothold in, as well as potentially WGN America nationally, means that ROH may be in its greatest position ever as we head into 2018, but nothing is ever for sure. It's been a long number of years with a lot of ups and downs for ROH, but slowly but surely they have weathered iPay-per-view issues to bring the company to legitimate, regular live pay-per-views and are now building their own streaming service. People used to complain that ROH didn't do enough, didn't run enough, or didn't spend enough money. But the one factor that may have helped preserve ROH and prepared it to springboard into a great position is the very thing that would frustrate some turns out to be the conservative nature of its owner. Some fans will point to different promotions that have strengthened themselves in 2018 to argue against my fears. I will concede there are promotions who have done regular good business and have provided great wrestling week in and week out. But in terms of making major waves that feel like massive seismic shifts to professional, not so much. There is also no great golden carrot on the horizon. Once upon a time, that carrot was pay-per-view, then iPay-per-view, but now it's streaming services. A year or so ago, following up on WWE launching the network, the belief was that streaming services were going to change the game for everyone on the independent scene. There have been some that have done well, but very few have figured out the riddle of creating great content and making money with that content. Even Flow Sports, which was touted as being a major game changer with a ton of money behind them, is a year in, pretty much a non-existent entity as of this writing. So while a streaming service is a great thing, and there are great examples of services out there like High Spots, Fight, New Japan, and newcomer Powerbomb TV, there is no magic answer to finding millions of subscribers and taking their millions of dollars because no one has found success at the level they would like with the technology. There are far more services than fans can ever hope to subscribe to, meaning there are far too many that will hit a dead end at some point. So, how do you feel about that, Fro?
Yeah,
I
agree.
Do you think there should be a major concern right now?
Yeah, no.
No? Alright. If you would like to read the entire article, just go to pwinsider.com. It is a fantastic article. I recommend everyone check it out. Alright, Fro. You ready for some tables, ladders, and chairs?
Mm.
We got to do it. We've got to do it. So, yeah, we watched this. Fro and myself and Luke, we watched this event. We're going to talk about the matches. We have ratings from CBS Sports, ESPN, and the Wrestling Observer newsletter, along with our very own. So, let's get into this. The pre-show match was Alicia Fox versus Sasha Banks.
Okay. Yeah. This was a good pre-show match. No kidding.
It was okay. I wasn't really that big into it, but it was okay for what it was. Sasha got the win. I gave this one a C-. I didn't think it was that good. ESPN did not give a rating for this. CBS Sports gave it a C, and the Wrestling Observer newsletter gave it 2.25 stars. So now we go into the pay-per-view, and we start with Emma versus the debuting Asuka. Were you surprised that this was the opening match?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I was.
And one thing that we did in the Skype chat, was we timed the match. Because we weren't sure how long the match was going to go. So we timed it, which was interesting to say the least. I liked this match. I thought this was a good match. Emma's a very good opponent for Asuka to debut in. And my only complaint is how the fans were reacting about how, oh, Asuka should have been dominant. Asuka should have beaten Emma so quickly. That's not how you want a character to go. If you want a character to be good, like Asuka's is, and Asuka can be very good, she has to compete. She has to wrestle. I felt there was nothing wrong with how this match went. I really didn't. How did you feel about this one?
I did like the match. I do agree that Emma got too much defense in, but yeah.
Asuka got the win with the Asuka lock. I gave this a B. That was the grade that I went with.
B-, I would call it.
Okay. ESPN gave this a 3 out of 5. CBS Sports gave this a C+. And the Observer newsletter gave this 2.5 stars. So the next match, and I know you guys are screaming about something, but we're going to get to that a little bit later, so don't worry. The next match was a tag team match. Brian Kendrick and Jack Gallagher against Cedric Alexander and Rich Swann. And something that you pointed out, Fro, and you made a very good conversation piece about this, was how you have a match like this, a tag team match, and if you don't watch 205 Live, which neither one of us do, depending on your mood, you might not get into this match.
This was an okay match. I really liked it. I said at the moment that I wish I cared more about the match than I did, because it was a great match.
This was a very good match. I don't get why people weren't so big into this one. This was a good match. This was a good match. Alexander and Swann got the win after the lumbar check. I gave this one a B. I thought this was a good match.
Mm. I would give it a B+ even.
Okay. ESPN gave this 2 3/4 out of 5. CBS gave this a B-, and The Observer gave this 3 stars.
Mm.
So our next match was the Raw Women's Title match. Mickie James challenging Alexa Bliss for the title. What were your thoughts on this one?
Nice. I really liked this match. I did. I heard some people were not as happy about this as me.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually like this match.
For what it was, this was a decent match. It's nobody's fault. It's just this crowd, I think to this point, wasn't really into it. If you know what I mean. Like they were into the show. They were, don't get me wrong, but there were just parts where they just didn't care, and I could sort of feel that in this match. But the right person went over in the end. Alexa Bliss should have won that match, which she did, to retain the women's title. And then Mickie James got interviewed after the match, which I don't know why. Although she is a Native American Music Award Hall of Famer, that's probably the reason why. So, that joke's going to go on forever, Fro.
Yes.
That joke is going to go forever. I gave this a C+.
Mm.
Was I a little low on that one?
No, I gave this a C+ as well. So.
Okay. ESPN gave this 3 1/4 out of 5. CBS Sports gave this a B, and Observer gave it 2 3/4 stars. So the next match was the Cruiserweight title, Enzo Amore challenging Kalisto. And for those who did not notice, and honestly I don't know how people did not notice this, Enzo was very hoarse. He did not have a voice. And it was so obvious the next night on Raw that he didn't say anything really except one letter.
Right.
This one could have been a little better, I thought.
This could be so great, but I give this a C.
Yeah. I have to give this a C as well. Because, I mean, I don't know. It's just...
It was nothing, and the title change. I'm a little fed up with them playing hot potato with that title.
It was an expected title change, pretty much.
Yeah.
And the way Enzo won... Now this time around, I didn't mind the way Enzo won it. Because Enzo poked Kalisto in the eye, and then he gave him soul food, which he actually has a name for it. It's called the Jordanzo, which I could get used to that.
Oh.
I could get, because of the Jordans. So yeah, we both gave it a C. ESPN gave this match 2 out of 5. CBS Sports gave this a C. And The Observer gave this 1 3/4 stars.
Oh.
That's a bit brutal there. Then we go to the dream match that when we recorded last week, we did not know was going to happen.
This is an awful match.
Really? Ooh, okay. We're going to have a talk on this one. Finn Balor and AJ Styles.
I thought you talked about...
Oh, no. Oh, no. Not that one. Oh, I can't wait till we get to that one. Okay, so Balor and Styles.
Yeah, that was a fantastic match.
This is
a match of the year contender.
Wow. This was a really good match, and both men did a superb job for basically 48-hour notice, because I reported the news on our YouTube page literally 2 hours after Fro and I finished recording the show. So it was like our emotions went from, oh, this show's going to be shit, to, okay, this could be a decent show now.
Yeah.
This was a very good match.
But this was a really, really, really good match.
This was. And Finn Balor got the win at the end. And then after the match, and this was a little interesting, they both gave the too sweet sign. Which was interesting because, you know, oh, the Young Bucks are cease and desist from using the too sweet sign. You know, oh, we own it, blah, blah, blah. I have a feeling those two will wrestle again. One-on-one. I gave this a B+.
This was a B+, definitely.
All right. ESPN gave this 4.5 out of 5. CBS Sports gave this an A, and the Observer newsletter gave it 4.25 stars. So then, after that, oh my goodness. Elias versus Jason Jordan. And
this was horrible.
There's a reason why I did not go into what happened during the show, because there's a setup to this. So, during the show, Elias tries to perform a song. Well, all of a sudden, food is getting thrown to him. And it's like celery, lettuce, other vegetables, and it's Jason Jordan with a shopping cart.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first time. And I will tell everyone who I thought it originally was. I thought it was Corey Graves. It just would have been, because it was coming from that direction. And it's like,
yeah.
Damn, Corey's got a good arm. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, it's not him. Although that would have been good. So Elias comes out a second time. And he gets amazing heat. Oh my God, he just gets amazing heat from this Minneapolis crowd. And he tries to sing again. And Jordan comes back out and throws more vegetables at him. And Luke makes a very good point. Or he made a very good point. Do you remember what he said?
No.
Okay, he asked basically, where are the tomatoes? Because when you have a bad...
Yes.
Because when you have a bad act, you throw tomatoes at him. There were no tomatoes! So it's like... And I said jokingly, oh, maybe they don't grow tomatoes in Minnesota. So then Elias is out in the ring for a third time. So my thought is, okay, they're setting this up for a match on Raw tomorrow night. Nope, we get a match. It was there. It was there.
Yeah, and it was horrible.
It was a bad match. The ending...
But, no, this match in the pay-per-view, this gets an F for me.
Wow. I'm not going to be that harsh. I gave it a D. This was the worst match of the show. I think the only reason it doesn't get a lower grade for me is because there was actually a build-up to the match during the show. That's the only reason. Other than that, I might be on the same boat with you. ESPN gave this 1.5 out of 5. CBS Sports gave this a C. Oh, you couldn't convince me to get that one a C. And the Observer newsletter gave this 2 stars. And then, oh, the main event. Oh my gosh, this is easily the most down the middle match of the entire year as far as reaction goes. Because Fro went to sleep before the main event. So it was just Luke and I watching this match. This is a good combination of this match is entertaining, there's some ridiculousness in here, there's some that just doesn't make sense. It was just like the perfect cluster for a main event.
The perfect storm, yeah.
Yeah, it really was. So it's Kurt Angle with Ambrose and Rollins against Team One Name of Braun, Miz, Cesaro, Sheamus, and Kane. Now, I did read via the newsletter why Roman Reigns was not in the match. He was sick. He did not get viral meningitis, like just about everybody else did. He had the mumps.
Aww.
And for those of you who don't know what mumps are, you should basically get your shot at a young age. It's sort of like chickenpox, where if you get it when you're older, it's a lot worse. So, okay, let's talk about some of the spots in this match, because it's going to take forever to describe the actual match. The Shield plus Angle came in. They threw chairs to start the match. There was just fighting all over. They went for Braun and Kane. Ambrose and Rollins jumped off the ladders through the Spanish and German announce table, took them out for a little bit. Angle hitting fantastic-looking German suplexes on Miz, Cesaro, and Sheamus. It looked really good. It's as if Angle had never lost the ability to do a German suplex. And then we get an interesting spot here where Braun returns and he power slams Kurt Angle through a table. And there's a look that Angle has where it's like, oh God. And then Luke and I, we noticed one of the medics, and I use in quotes, who came out during that match. It was a wrestler that we both know by the name of Darren Corbin, who Luke knows from, working with WCWC.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Darren from, besides watching wrestling, from getting my butt beat in Words with Friends every week. So that's how, that's sort of like the three degrees of Darren Corbin.
Right. Yes.
So it becomes 5-on-2, and then Kane accidentally hits Braun. And you'd think, okay, this is going to lead to something. It doesn't right away. So Miz, if you remember, and I forgot to mention this, he made one last promo before the match saying that that they're going to take out the trash. Well, here comes a garbage truck backing into the arena. And they're going to try to put Seth and Dean in there. And Michael Cole is like, oh my God, they're going to squish him. They're going to put him in there. They're going to squish him and they're never going to come back. The commentary, Fro, I have to say this. This might be one of the worst commentaries for a main event I have ever heard in my life.
Aww.
Oh my gosh. Part of it is Michael Cole's overreaction. The other is Booker T. And Booker T's been getting some shit lately. But this was just absolutely horrendous because, Cole and Graves, they're like, oh, Kurt Angle, we admire him for coming out. And Booker T's like, Oh, he shouldn't have been out there. This wasn't his match. He shouldn't have been in this match. He hasn't been in a WWE ring in so long. I don't know why he came out of retirement to be in this match. And it's like, Jesus, Booker, shut the hell up. So, listen to his commentary, folks. You will be just as annoyed as I was during the match. So, Braun, at one point, has Dean and Seth. And for no reason whatsoever, Kane attacks Braun Strowman. For no reason. For no reason whatsoever. Kane attacks Braun Strowman. And Kane chokeslams Braun through like this little part of the stage in between the entrance and the commentators. So Braun is down. Kane stands over him. And then Kane looks up and he sees these chairs that are hanging above. Kane pulls the chairs down onto Braun Strowman, and you're thinking, okay, well, Braun's done. He's done for the night. So then Kane comes back and he tries to chokeslam Seth and Dean through 2 tables. He gets Seth through a table. Dean does not go through a table at all. Like, he didn't go through 2 tables. Those are 2 of the worst table bumps I've ever seen. They were bad. So after that, Braun comes back. He fights Kane. And this is where I could understand people being pissed off about this, because this was just nothing. So Braun and Kane are fighting, and then Miz and Cesaro and Sheamus come in, and they help Kane, so it's 4-on-1 on their own partner, and then they put Braun in the garbage truck, and they tell the guy to lower the lift, and Braun is getting squished inside the garbage truck, and Michael Cole's like, oh my god, he's in there! Oh, he's never gonna come out! He'll probably be there forever! Oh my god! You know, and the one thing that, you know, he's not saying is, Braun's getting killed! He doesn't say he's getting killed, he never does! And then the fans start a "he got murdered" chant. It was so good. He got murdered. He got murdered. Or this is where...
What did you think about this match?
I enjoyed it for the wackiness.
Yeah, it was a wacky match.
It was just a fun, wacky clusterfuck of a match.
But I gave it a B-.
Alright. So, Kurt Angle does return. And he gives Sheamus an Olympic Slam. And then he gives Cesaro an Olympic Slam through the table, which was a real good spot. Kane eventually gets put out. It's 3-on-1. And then they hit the triple powerbomb on Miz, and Shield plus Angle win. I gave this a B+. Just for the entertainment factor of it.
It was entertainment, but it was clusterfuck.
Oh, it was!
I'm not that happy when it gets too clusterfucky.
I mean, it was such a clusterfuck, but it was an entertaining one. It's like a demolition derby. You know it's going to be bad, but it's entertaining to watch.
But what did you think about SmackDown turning heel on Raw?
Oh, okay. I'm going to get to that in a minute. Let me get the other grades. ESPN gave this match 2 3/4 out of 5. CBS Sports, are you ready for this? Gave it a D+.
No.
The Observer gave this 4 1/4 stars out of 5. So that's pretty good. So that's our coverage that's TLC basically. Now, real quick, and then we're going to get into what happened on Raw, because I do want to talk about that.
Yeah.
What grade would you give this show?
A B.
All right.
C, E.
A, F, E, G.
No, but somewhere between a C and a B.
Okay. The majority of our Facebook fans gave this a C.
Yeah, I voted C as well.
Yeah.
But it's a strong C.
Yeah. Some gave it a B, and one gave it an F, or a D, pardon me. I'm going to give this a B. It was just entertaining to watch. Now, Joe Sago wrote, the Balor Styles match was great, and main event was entertaining. The rest was garbage. I could see the point. Favorite match from the pay-per-view? What was yours?
Definitely.
Styles and Balor.
Styles and Balor, yeah.
Pretty much everybody who voted except for one gave it to Styles and Balor. The one voted for the TLC match.
Is it okay that you do the rest of the show alone? I'm so extremely tired.
You're getting sleepy?
Yes.
Alright, I'll do the rest alone.
Okay. See you next week, guys.
Yep.
I will be home then.
Alright, have a good sleep, Fro.
Bye.
Bye. I'd give it Styles and Balor. I would give it that. It's tough, though. I mean, I was entertained by the TLC match, though. That was entertaining. Least favorite match, majority went with Elias and Jason Jordan. Some went with Kendrick and Gallagher against Alexander and Swan. I was very surprised to read that. And one person went Sasha Banks and Alicia Fox. I gotta give it to Elias and Jason Jordan. That was a craptacular match. That was real bad. So, now to what Fro was mentioning with Raw Monday night. I caught the last segment because Monday night the Redskins were playing the Eagles, so I was watching that. I caught that last segment, and at first, like when I watched it, I was like, "Oh, okay, so we're gonna have an invasion. This is pretty cool." And then SmackDown just starts beating the crap out of everybody, and it made me, to a degree, it made me hate the SmackDown brand. I wanted to root for Raw. It's like, come on, you're not giving these guys a chance here. I don't know. I mean, I understand why they were doing it, because it's the Survivor Series and Raw and SmackDown are going to face each other. I understand, and SmackDown, let's be real, they got the first shot in on this war. And I thought it was done really well. Now, what I also liked is what they didn't do the next night on SmackDown, because it was like, oh, Raw, Raw's gonna come back, Raw's gonna get them, but they didn't, which actually was a good thing if you think about it, because you wouldn't want a quick retaliation right away. You want to have, sort of a strategy to a degree. So, but they announced the majority of the Survivor Series card on Raw Monday night. There will be 0 championship matches at the Survivor Series, because the champions are going to be in champion versus champion matches, which we will discuss in 3 weeks on November the 16th for our live Survivor Series preview show. But the one thing I want to bring up, and this is how we're going to end the show this week, is the conversation of the main event, which we all know by now is Brock Lesnar versus Jinder Mahal. On paper, that match is going to suck. They are going to have, or there have been rumors that they are going to have a special guest referee for that match at the Survivor Series. I don't want a guest referee for this match. So, the first name that popped up. And to be honest, of the three, is the one that makes the most sense to me is John Cena. That makes sense. Because you could do a program with him against either one of these two going down the line. Then I heard The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Why? Why? I don't want The Rock and Stone Cold. I don't want to see them as the referee for a championship or a non-championship match. I don't get it, folks. All I'm going to say is this is going to be one interesting Survivor Series to watch that day. Well, on that note, let's start wrapping it up for this week. If you have any questions or comments, send an email, wrestlingman@thatwrestlingshow.com. Don't forget to follow the show on Twitter at WrestlingShow11. Join our Facebook group, and if for some reason you can't find us, click on the link below in the description box, and you will be right there. Visit our website, thatwrestlingshow.com, and check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/Bill's World of Podcasts. It's a bit unfortunate that Fro had to leave because, well, I had something for him for next week, but I'll tell you guys anyway. Next week, because we actually have a bit of a break in between pay-per-views, I'm going to review an old wrestling program. I don't know which one yet. I got to figure it out. But next week, I'm going to pick a show, I'm going to review it, and I'm going to discuss it right here next week on the program. I also want to mention that in 2 weeks is a very special episode of That Wrestling Show because it is going to be all about the 20th anniversary of Survivor Series 97 and the Montreal incident. I'm working on the guest list. I'll have the people announced next week. So it will be a very interesting, a very formative conversation piece. I can't wait to get into this one because it's been 20 years. And then, like I mentioned, in 3 weeks, the live episode on Facebook, the big Survivor Series preview show where Fro and I, and who knows who else, will predict the winners of not only TakeOver with the return of the War Games, but also the Survivor Series. So on that note, everybody have a good, safe weekend. For you youngsters out there and for you people who are young at heart, have a safe, happy Halloween. And whenever you are done eating your Halloween candy, trick-or-treating, whatever it is you do, come back here next week for another episode of That Wrestling Show, the only podcast where all pro wrestling matters. And as always, wrestle on.